Near mint condition, the home of collected edition.
That cover's so awesome. That, as they say, is that. Marvel Comics. Let's go ahead and get started.
The Marvel Universe will never be the same again. How many times have we heard that? How many times have they meant it? Well, I am the Uncanny Omar, and you are watching Near Mint Condition. Today, I'm going to give you an advanced look at the Marvel Comics Secret War from Brian Michael Bendis. We're going to be looking at this new omnibus. Join me. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on April 1st or 2nd, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here is the direct market cover. This is supplied by the series artist Gabriel Dell'Otto. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover, also supplied by Gabriel Dell'Otto. And actually, that's the one that they used previously for the oversized hardcover collection. Although it's a little bit different because the oversized hardcover collection here seems like they're zoomed in on the characters, and these, of course, come from the covers. Over here is a brand new piece by Dell'Otto with the characters in their new Black Ops costumes. But we're going to be taking a look at this, and we're going to see what's collected in here. One thing you're going to notice, just the size of the book. It's not one of the most thickest. Believe it or not, it's also not the thinnest omnibus. That still goes to Devil Dinosaur. But the spines right here, this is the old classic Marvel red on white that they used for the oversized hardcovers. And they're not quite done with oversized hardcovers because we have another one that is coming out this week, the Deadpool oversized hardcover, Bad Blood and Batter Blood collected. And I haven't announced some, but they are some other hardcovers, oversized hardcovers in the works. Then, of course, the back of the books. I'm not really comparing it because this, again, was an oversized hardcover and this is now an omnibus. But, I mean, it kind of collects, well, it collects more than this does. And I'll talk about exactly what is collected in this version here in a little bit. But the first thing I want to do is look underneath the dust jacket here. I lied. I wanted to look at the flaps here. Who is writing the checks and the bio on the creators over here on the right-hand side. So a little bit about the story over here on the left, and on the right, the bio on the creators. Underneath the dust jacket is this image from the big attack that happens in issue, I think it's 3 or 4, although the image has been zoomed in from the spread pages that are collected in here. So we're going to open this up, and I'll do a comparison to the internal pages of this in a little bit. We're going to open this omnibus up, talk about the stories collected in here, check out the extras, and look at the build of this book. All right, let's go ahead and get this book opened. And there's your end sheet, Secret War. And what is collected in here. This is a really unique introduction by an anonymous person, probably Brian Michael Bendis, talking about the creation of the stories in here. Over here, you have your credits, Gabriel Dell'Otto doing the miniseries, and then you have the phenomenal Brent Anderson, who of course had worked at Marvel, and then Astro City, and Michael Lark doing the artwork for The Pulse. And then you have the From the Files of Nick Fury Secret War with a lot of different writers and artists. So collected in here is Secret War, the 2004 series 1 through 5, The Pulse 6 through 9, and Secret War From the Files of Nick Fury. And the book has 376 pages and retails for $75. Now, the difference between this and the Secret War that I was holding earlier is that this only collects the 5 issues and the Files of Nick Fury. Uncanny Omar Talk Pretty One Day, Nick Fury. This collects those Pulse issues that involve some of the characters, which I'll explain here in a little bit. So this is a series that has really nothing to do with Marvel Secret Wars from 1984, nor the 2015 Secret Wars by Jonathan Hickman. This is really what I like to call the beginning of the Bendis era of Marvel Comics. So it's taking everything that we've established in Marvel as far as we've known and kind of doing away with it. And I'll explain as I go on through here with not really any spoilers. If I do have any spoilers outside of the pitch, I'll let you know. So the story starts off in the present day in 2004, where it's Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, who is pregnant with his kid. He is attacked for some reason. And we don't know exactly why, but Nick Fury is summoned. And we go to the hospital where you have Jessica Jones there, of course, next to Luke Cage. We have Captain America visiting him. And the doctors cannot operate on him because of his unbreakable skin. So they're just trying to keep him alive, trying to keep his heart going and his blood flowing. We then cut back to the past. So this story will go past, present. It will go flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. You'll be going from the past to the present to explore exactly what happened. We see this fight between Backlash and the character of Iron Man. And then what ends up happening is that Nick Fury is going around and recruiting people. But he's recruiting people that owe him a favor. And that is because some of these villains are getting some high-tech equipment, and he doesn't know exactly where they're coming from until the interrogation begins, and he finds out where they're coming from. So it's also important to know that during this time, I'll just say, Doctor Doom is not the leader of Latveria. He is not in charge of Latveria during this time. He is indisposed, if you will. Yeah, no, he's a dictator, but I just wanted to simplify it for people. He is indisposed, and if you want to see where he is, go read Fantastic Four by Mark Waid and Mike Wieringo. That omnibus just recently got reprinted. So during this time, what the United States government decided to do was put somebody in charge of Latveria, and that is Lucia von Bardas. So she becomes the prime minister of Latveria. And what Nick Fury finds out is that this high tech that some of these supervillains have gotten and the Tinker had gotten came from Latveria, and Lucia von Bardas is the key player behind selling all of this or gifting it to these supervillains. So if the United States placed her there, then of course he goes to the White House where he explains everything. He's like, look, this person that we put in charge, this is bad news. We got to take her out. We got to make sure that, these people are now terrorists because they're selling weapons to our enemies. And the White House decides, that's going to be a big PR nightmare. We can't deal with that. So why don't you just take care of the terrorists and leave Lucia von Bardas alone? Now, Nick Fury feels betrayed by this, and he doesn't know exactly what to do. So remember when I said he called in a favor? Well, that's what this is. The story is, by the way, each issue ends with these personal files of S.H.I.E.L.D. And what he does is he gathers a group of heroes that owe him a favor. He goes up to Steve Rogers. He goes up to Matt Murdock. He goes up to Peter Parker, Luke Cage, and Natasha Romanoff, and this newer character. But before the newer character, I need to show you this ridiculous scene where Wolverine is just drunk on a plane. And their mission, and I'll explain who the new character is to take out the Latverian government, just to do away with them. So going completely Black Ops, and that's where those costumes come from. And I think those costumes only appear through these pages. Now, that was a year ago. And they also met this other young lady named Daisy Johnson. Now, you may be familiar with that name in case you've read, of course, Brian Michael Bendis' New Avengers. The Collective had the storyline with, it's that one lady that was able to take the powers from Magneto and the Collective. Anyway, will also be appearing heavily in the Secret Warriors comic by Jonathan Hickman that started with Brian Michael Bendis. Hey, this is that big fight I was talking about. So she doesn't have a code name here. She's just Daisy Johnson. She's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's a young girl, 16 years old, and has the power of earthquakes, like controlling tremors and stuff like that, but can do it in costume anywhere. So a year ago, that's when it happens, but something horribly goes wrong. And we fast forward to the present. And in present time, these heroes are now being attacked, and these supervillains are coming in with high-tech equipment. None of them can remember exactly what happened, though. None of them remember the mission. None of them remember going to Latveria. So things start coming up to the surface. And secrets are revealed. And there's, of course, imminent betrayal. Or at least a lot of the characters feel betrayed by somebody that they trusted. Somebody that they've known all these years. Somebody that they would call a friend. And you can find out exactly why they feel like that. So you have Captain America, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Black Widow, Luke Cage, Wolverine, and Daisy Johnson that you get their story in the past of how they invaded Latveria and how they try to take out Lucia von Bardas. And then you have the present day story where there's an invasion, there's an attack by all these supervillains with high tech attacking them for perhaps no reason, but absolutely reason. By the way, I love this spread page. And it was a lot of fun. Like, I love doing, I don't know if anybody else is like me that tries to figure out who is who through here. But, you know, you've got the Spider Slayer, you've got the Hobgoblin, you've got Crossfire makes it, the Constrictor, Mr. Fear, Shocker, Crimson Dynamo's back there. You've got Grim Reaper. Mentallo? Yeah, Mentallo, Lady Octopus, and the Wizard back there. Or no, maybe that's a Trapster during this time. And Goldbug. Heck, Goldbug and Boomerang. But anyway, I have a lot of fun. The Wizard's back here. I have a lot of fun, like, trying to guess who is who with these souped up powers and technology and who's giving it to them. And of course, when the characters go to Latveria to make the attack, they are wearing their Black Ops outfits, which I don't really see anymore in the Marvel Universe, maybe in the Marvel Rivals video game. But it's one of the few times you ever see Luke Cage actually wearing a costume. So, as I mentioned, things go bad, and there are attacks now in present day, and it has ramifications in the Marvel Universe. What I said earlier was that this is kind of like the ending of that classic Marvel era where characters kind of trusted each other. You had Nick Fury, who was director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then after this, a lot of things change. After this, it really sets up the new era for Brian Michael Bendis' Avengers, but then everything in the Marvel Universe, because he was just such a big superstar that, you know, people were just writing stories around him. And by the way, everybody gets involved. The Fantastic Four get involved, the Avengers get involved, the X-Men get involved in this big fight trying to figure out why these characters are attacking the city, and there is a master plan and who is behind all of this. Now, I wanted to come back here so you're not spoiled for what happens in those last two issues. And after this is where the new Avengers are found because of Avengers Disassembled. And what was interesting is that this was supposed to end before the new Avengers started. So when this was coming out, based on the covers alone, we were like, okay, obviously the new Avengers are going to be Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, and Daredevil, and Black Widow. We were a little off, right? Well, maybe not. I don't know. Depends on who you ask, and depends on the internet, what they think. But that establishes the new status quo for the Avengers. And during that era, that's why Maria Hill is in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D., if you've been reading that. And why Nick Fury has kind of gone incognito, doesn't want to be found by anybody because of the events that happen here, and you can read all about it in here. But this is what causes all of that. And one other thing that is collected in here, now there were some huge delays in the Secret War, as I mentioned. Like, it started in February of 2004, it didn't end until December 2005 for just 5 issues. So there were some big delays, and that affected this story too. The Pulse had to be, I think some things had to be taken out initially, but what this is this is the new ongoing series after Alias was over, and Alias was a Max series, and Max was supposed to be kind of out of continuity, but then because of the popularity of the character of Jessica Jones, they brought it back into continuity. So this is the Pulse, more of a I don't want to say kid-friendlier version, but it is not as vulgar as you will find her in the pages of Alias. Here you have Ben Urich and Kat Farrell, and of course Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. This is the story, if you want to follow through her point of view, what happened to Luke Cage and what's going on with him as she investigates why anyone would even attack and how it ties to Latveria or the Latverian embassy, and who would attack from the Latverian embassy if Dr. Doom is no longer there. And who sent all these tech-heavy villains out to get them? Why was there this retaliation? And that's the question that she's seeking. Why? Why did anything like this happen to her and Luke Cage? And of course, what does Nick Fury know that he's not telling anybody? There's a surprise return of a character in here, a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. So if you were a big fan of Iron Man in the Silver and Bronze Age, it is really cool to see that character return. And in the back is where you're going to find the Secret War from the Files of Nick Fury. I really enjoyed reading this because it gives you a better understanding as to how Bendis sees the characters. There was a rumor, I can't remember where I heard this. I think my friend Ben told me that the idea behind this came from Bendis' childhood. Like his dad knew somebody in the United States intelligence, and that he was telling him stories. And maybe that's where the character of Daisy Johnson show, like, because she's got S.H.I.E.L.D. access that no one else does. She's got like level 10 clearance, which is just insane. Yeah, these are the costumes right here. The Black Ops costume. So this is before Uncanny X-Force. That actually Wolverine's kind of looks like the Ultimate version. And I do love that Captain America's costume is like, yeah, you're still gonna wear the white, red, and blue, just to show Latveria who sent them over there. But it's a better understanding as to why some of the characters made it, why Nick Fury didn't pick other characters, and then of course the villains and where they stand, and then the behind the scenes. So let's look at that really quick. So we do have, this is a quick synopsis of the pitch, the introduction by Andy Schmidt, talking about the design of each of the covers, the character designs of the costumes. I kind of dig Spider-Man's too. Ah, that's cool. Okay, I forgot about that. Yeah, there's like a glossary as to who's souped up, the layouts, and these are layouts by Brian Michael Bendis back here. And then Gabriel Dell'Otto, who didn't do a lot of work beforehand at Marvel, I don't think. The Secret War pinup. An introduction by Brian Michael Bendis here. This double-page spread by Dell'Otto from 1998. So maybe we're just looking at some of the Marvel art here. Oh, wow, some of this is gorgeous. That Hulk is creepy. That Wolvie's pretty badass. And the hardcover pinup right here. And the Pulse preview feature from Secret War 3. So, remember when I said it was the point of view of Jessica Jones? Well, that's what happens. It retells how the attack went, including the panels and the way they're laid out. Probably because Brian Michael Bendis laid them out. He was writing both of the comics at the time. And this is the third printing and sketch variants. The hardcover, which we saw earlier. And then the trade paperback right here. And the Omnibus. So, in case you didn't get this direct market cover, you can still have that image. Yeah, that is growing on me. I like that. Thought that was Night Thrasher at first. I got excited. All right, let's look at the build of this. 376 pages. It is sewn binding. So let's actually go back to the page. Yeah, here we go. So you can see what type of gutter loss, if any, which is very, very, very minimal. The book is printed at the Mega Print, and there's very little bleed through happening. But honestly, for the most part, the book is set like it's really dark. Maybe we can compare something here. As a matter of fact, actually the cover, or right here. So there is very minimal bleed through happening. But what I want to do is quickly compare it to the oversized hardcover, which had really tight binding, and that's because it was a glued binding. You have the introduction here, that piece, and then this time around, it looks like you're getting textless covers, and over here you get the actual text on the cover. And one thing immediately I notice is the thickness of the paper stock. This over here, which was originally printed in 2005. Wow, that was a long time ago. So that means they printed this as soon as the story was over. Has really thick glossy paper, whereas over here, it's got thinner glossy paper. But it does lay over, and over here, it's just trying to shut on you. So when you get to pages like this, gosh, Dang it. You still have to hold it down. Whereas over here in the printing, I don't want to call it new printing, the Omnibus edition, it's laying down with very little gutter loss. Over here you have some gutter loss, but there we go. There we go. Anyway, can't really compare the bleed through, but I'm sure there's very, very little bleed through in this because of using the thicker glossy paper stock. And the pages are all dark. But that is it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $250 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. And of course, the comparison to the oversized hardcover. If you have any questions, leave those down below. And let me know what other event you want Marvel to collect in omnibus format. I've seen a lot of people ask for Civil War, some ask for Fear itself. But yes, I would love to know what event you would love to see collected in an omnibus format. But that is it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.